Hello, podcast lovers. Happy 4th of July week. And if you're not listening to it the 4th of July week, well, happy episode 399. Tucker and I go off on a tangent. Big surprise. Enjoy this episode of JJ Meets World and, spill some tea. And by the way, if you'd like to help support our podcast, visit jjmeetsworld.com where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some killer swag at our merch shop, or click the link to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirls as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called JJ Meets World.
Tucker, it was 1776, July 4th.
Yeah.
And they got together, bunch of free thinkers, and they said, you know what? We are going to declare independence. Yeah, most of them. Except for somebody told me that Jon Adams didn't have,
was not a slave owner.
He was not a slave owner,
Yeah.
but he paid for, farm help.
That's my understanding too, is that, I don't think he was necessarily an outspoken abolitionist, but he
was not.
But he did not believe in slavery.
Right.
And so he didn't practice slavery. But he also didn't fight against slavery.
Did you ever watch that miniseries that he was
Yes,
that they did with Paul Giamatti?
I remember, I love that miniseries because I love historical drama, like historical reenactments and stuff, even though it's, you'll find inaccuracies or whatever. But however, I also remember the episode where his daughter had to have surgery for breast cancer. And the way they built up, like the build up to the surgery was so intense that I almost passed out. Just from how well they built the tension in the show over this incredibly painful thing she was about to go through. That series is really, really good. I highly recommend it. Giamatti is a fucking master in it.
And it's so I'm going to spill some tea here. I don't like Laura Linney. I don't like the way she acts. I don't like the way she looks. I don't like the way every time someone says something, she furrows her brow as if she thinks that they should have said something else. I don't like Laura Linney. And if it wasn't for Jason Bateman, I wouldn't have watched Ozarks. My least favorite parts of Love Actually are the parts with her in it. And I actually hope that she doesn't find love in the end. But I will say this. She does a great job portraying Abigail Adams, who, just recently on my radio gig, we had on a guest that we've had on several times. He's amazing. He's the type of guy that really we should try and get on this podcast. His name is Andrew Oak, and he's the First Ladies Man. And he did a television series for C-SPAN where he did an in-depth look into every First Lady of the United States.
Oh, okay.
So he calls himself the First Ladies Man.
Got it.
He wrote 2 books. Both of them are entitled Unusual for Their Time. He is a walking encyclopedia of not just facts, but hot takes on the First Ladies of the United States. And really what they did, they say behind every great man, there's an even greater woman, right? And so the role that these women played in the founding of our country, the evolution of our country, there's some amazing stuff. Like, we all think that each president had a wife, right? And in some cases they didn't. Like, I can't remember one. There's one bachelor president. And so what he did is his niece took on the role of the first lady duties.
I don't remember who that is. Yeah.
And there's some pretty interesting stuff. So Abigail Adams, for example, writes to her husband when they're forming the Constitution and says, don't forget the ladies.
Mm-hmm.
It's a famous line from one of her letters. And you think, this gal was so far ahead of her time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget the ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Other things that Abigail Adams did. So Abigail Adams while Jon Adams is ambassador and trying to get money. I think was it from the
French or the Dutch or something?
I think both. I think he was an ambassador to the French for a while, and then he was trying to get money from the Dutch.
Yeah.
And that episode of Jon Adams is good too, because remember, he's super sick while he's over there. And I remember feeling nauseous watching that scene.
Well, and isn't it during that time he finds that they win the war?
Correct. Yeah.
Right. In the midst of his fever,
piece of paper.
in the midst of his fever, he finds out they've won the war.
But while that whole time while he's gone, Abigail Adams is running the family farm. Also, Abigail Adams, even though she didn't go to formal school, teaches her kids, homeschools all her kids. One of them who becomes the first president or the son of a president who becomes president, John Quincy.
John Quincy Adams, played by Anthony Hopkins in Amistad.
Oh, I believe he also married a woman named Abigail.
Okay.
I think that those Adams boys love their Abigails. But she also does a thing that was kind of unheard of at the time. George Washington, after he leaves the presidency, is taken care of, essentially. Like, my understanding is, like, people don't charge him for stuff when he goes to the store, right? Like, they're like, that's, it's George Washington.
Right.
And she actually set up this business so that after the presidency was done for Jon Adams, he was able to, they were able to live comfortably with savings, and they kept their farm running that whole time. And then I guess Thomas Jefferson, when he left, he was broke as a joke.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so there was like an issue of him like not having money to survive, even though he had been a president.
It's weird because both Washington and Jefferson had slaves and I guess no money, and the Adams had no slaves and were able to keep things going.
We should.
It's funny how that works out.
Forward thinkers.
Funny how that works out. Oh, I don't know how to do any of these things actually.
Whoops. But unusual for their time, the books that Andy Oak wrote are amazing. And if you order from his website, he'll sign them and ship them out to you. He's a cool dude. He loves Dolly Madison. It's one of his favorites. He's always trying to work Dolly Madison into conversation.
So that was the first lady, Dolly Madison.
James Madison's
Got
wife.
it. Okay.
And he talks about how like Dolly was the one who was the first one to redo like the White House, and she's like, "You're the president of the United States. We need to look a little bougie."
Mercedes Ray is missing a few high-profile presidents, including Jon Adams and George Washington.
For those of you who are tuning in who don't know what Mercedes Ray is, it's a movie about a time traveler who accidentally brings Abraham Lincoln back to the future. And then Abraham Lincoln goes back to get Thomas Jefferson, who turns out to be just a total jerk and wants to just throw a rager in the 21st century, and then goes back and gets president. Now, let's spill some tea about Mercedes Ray.
You like spilling tea today?
I love spilling tea because I'm thinking about the Boston Tea Party, 1773.
What does spilling tea mean to you?
Spilling tea is like gossip.
Okay.
It's like gossip. Like, ooh, spill that hot tea.
Because you were like, I want to spill some tea on Laura Linney. I don't like her. And I was like, oh, is that tea or is that just you talking shit?
Nope, I'm telling you, okay, so Laura Linney, for whatever reason, is chosen as the intro person into like the first 3 seasons of Downton Abbey, where it's like, you're watching your PBS.
On the show?
Like, it was like this intro before, because Downton Abbey was made for the BBC.
Yeah.
But when it was broadcast in the United States, PBS was like, has these little intros, like, this is Masterpiece Theater. And so she'd be like, you're watching Downton Abbey on PBS. And so I had to watch her do that intro over and over. And I'm like, God, I hate Laura Linney. Ugh. In fact, here, hold on. Let me bring up Laura Linney's filmography and let me see what I enjoy of hers. And what sucks is she's in a lot of good stuff, but
like Laura Linney.
She ruins it.
I like Laura Linney.
What's your favorite Laura Linney movie?
The Jon Adams series.
Okay. Just because we were talking about it?
Yeah, that's like the first
yeah, right. Yeah.
She's been in so many things that
she's been in so many forgettable things.
It's not like there's one thing where I'm like, oh well, this is definitive Laura Linney. She's been in a million things.
She played Sully's wife, Laurie Sullenberger, in Sully.
I have not seen. Oh, I have seen Sully. I like Sully.
In Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Out of the Shadows, she played Chief Vincent. Yeah, unforgettable there.
Really?
Mr. Holmes, which is a cool, like, have you ever heard the premise of the movie Mr. Holmes? Sir Ian McKellen plays Sherlock Holmes, like, as if Sherlock Holmes got old, and so he's got onset of dementia.
Oh, okay.
And so he's trying to solve one last mystery. and he needs this little boy down the block to help him.
Does Laura Linney play the little boy?
I think she's his nurse.
Okay.
Or housekeeper. Maybe both at the same time. I don't know. I mean, I'm going through this whole thing and I'm not really seeing a lot of stuff. Oh, yeah. She ruined the Nanny Diaries. She was horrible as Mrs. X. That's not Mrs. X. Oh, I like The Savage. That was good. Man of the Year. She played Robin Williams' love interest who gets like a lobotomy in it.
The scene that's playing in my head now is when she goes into Scarlett Johansson's room and she's got like the lingerie and she's like, is this yours? And like, you can't let this get mixed up. And she like realizes she has to cover for Mr. X.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, that's mine.
Wow.
And then you can tell that Laura Linney like understands she's covering, but is going to go along with the lie and is happy that they can, gloss over with this.
Tucker, I'm really impressed.
That scene played on YouTube within the last couple of weeks to me for some reason. The algorithm must have known we were going to do episode 399 talking about how much you love Laura Linney, which is not at all.
Linney.
But the title might be JJ Loves Laura Linney.
Oh, remember her role in the Truman Show where she plays Truman's fake wife?
She's so good in that.
How is she so good in that?
She is so good in that.
What does she bring to that role? How she's like fake when she's like, oh, I use Ajax.
She's supposed to be like that. She perfectly acts as someone who is a bad actor.
Hey, if I did this, listeners can't see this, but I'm going to do this. Amy Pretty. Do you know what that's from?
Isn't that
I'll do another impression. This is Tim Curry. It's the lost city of Zange.
Congo?
Yeah, it's Congo. She's the lead in Congo.
Okay. She's the lead?
She's the lead. She plays Kevin Kline when he's the real president's lover in Dave.
Wait, she plays him?
No, she plays okay, so in the movie Dave,
yes,
which is one of the best movies about the presidency ever. We're going to get into that in a minute because I'm feeling very patriotic, so I want to talk about patriotic things from my childhood. Dave, one of them. Kevin Kline plays a guy who looks just like the president and goes and like rides a pig at a supermarket opening pretending to be the president of the United States, but he also plays the president. He's also so he's playing dual roles, which is not the first time he's played dual roles as a president, or it's not the last time, I should say that. So
Wild Wild West.
Wild Wild West. Yes. Oh God, we are so in sync today, Tucker. We are so in sync.
He's President Grant, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he also plays, what was his name in that? Oh, God darn it. Anyway.
Wiki Wild Wild West. Jim West.
Do you know that movie turned 25 years old yesterday? At the day of this recording, yesterday it turned 25?
I did not know that.
And I bet Kenneth Branagh has spent 25 years being like, can we please forget about this movie? Can we please forget it exists? Anyway, okay, so he plays Dave as well as the president. And the president is having an affair with, like, he's not sleeping with his wife, Sigourney Weaver. He's sleeping with one of his secretaries, played by Laura Linney.
Oh, okay.
And she's bad in that, too.
So she's the other woman.
Yeah.
With the president.
Her first movie was Lorenzo's Oil, and she played the character Young Teacher. And she's in a movie called a TV movie called Blind Spot. She does a lot of political stuff. Not gonna lie, I'm seeing a ton of stuff on here that is like politics based.
Is that making you like her more?
No, it means that like, come on, get out of your comfort zone. She made a TV movie called Love Letters with Steven Weber.
How many people? How often do you think she gets confused for Laura Dern?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think that she probably used that in the early 90s where she was like, yeah, it's fine. Confuse me with the gal who was in one of the biggest movies
who
of all
was
time,
in Jurassic Park, and I'll be in Congo.
Yeah, right.
You've got Samuel
Both
Jackson.
Michael Crichton books.
We'll have Ernie Hudson.
So
hold on to your butts.
Does that mean that John Hammond is the Tim Curry role in the other one? The guy who knows all the stuff about it?
I just remember Samuel Jackson letting the cigarette dangle from his mouth while he's trying all the things. Yeah. And I remember as a kid thinking,
remote access internet.
Man, I bet cigarettes are cool.
They are. I mean,
they're pretty awesome.
I used to think cigarettes help you concentrate. I was like, that's so awesome.
They certainly look cool when you're doing them.
Yeah, they do. Okay, let's talk about things that make me feel patriotic.
Cigarettes are cool. Yeah.
Not cigarettes. It's not cigarette. They don't make me feel patriotic. They make me feel like I've given up. Right? Mm-hmm. Have you ever smoked a cigarette?
Yeah, only every single time it's only been when I was really drunk. And so like I was out at the bar and we're all having beers and then some of my friends go outside to have a cigarette. So I just go to hang out with them and I'm out there. I'm like, heck, can I have one? And so it's only ever been like that. and I can always tell the next morning because my throat is burning in that kind of way. So only in those circumstances. But I've never once been like, oh, I really want a cigarette. I really need a cigarette. Never became that for me.
Cigarettes and coffee, I just don't understand. It's just not my jam. Like, it's something that so many people do, and I just don't care for it. My parents smoked, and so I think that's why I am so against it, because I've been hotboxed in a minivan before.
I think that's a big piece of it is if you're a smoker, then you're making everyone who lives with you indulge in the lifestyle as well. Basically,
I used to try and get into restaurants before my parents because they'd be like, smoking or non-smoking. I'd be like, non-smoking.
Man, remember those days when they thought, all you need to do is just put them over there.
Yeah.
And that'll protect
just be
people
10
over
feet
here.
away. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
I took a puff of a cigarette once, and it was a menthol, and I was standing outside of a bar called Shotgun Pete's, and it was in the Lincoln Park neighborhood of Chicago. And it was a girl that I was flirting with, and she went out to smoke. And she's like, you want to come out and have a smoke? And I'm like, sure, I'll come out. And I didn't smoke. And she's like, oh, do you want just a puff? And I was like, this will make me look cool. I take a puff, and I throw up. And I'd eaten a lot of asparagus that day. And so I pretty much threw up straight asparagus. And then they wouldn't let me back into the bar because he's like, you're too drunk. And I'm like, I literally am not. I took a puff of a cigarette. And the guy looked at me like, yeah, right.
Here's how I knew cigarettes were actually bad for you when I was a little kid, right? What movie was this? Got any cigarettes? Regular or menthol?
Oh, you're talking about Sam Rockwell as a member of the Foot. Is he technically a member of the Foot Clan?
I think so.
Or is it the gang that is it like the feeder of the Foot Clan? Because you don't get initiated into the Foot right away.
It is. I don't think he's been initiated into the Foot as a ninja warrior. He's definitely part of the organization in some way, but it's unclear as to what it is that he does. He may be like a recruiter or something. He's given those guys a tour basically and telling them about the space.
How cool it is.
So he might be more directly involved in just the crime aspect of it versus the martial arts. So that's a really good question.
Which is an interesting thing because in the beginning of the movie, it's the Foot that are stealing all the stuff.
Right.
Like people in the Foot outfits.
But
he's for sure he's the fencer.
Right. Well, you can all, but there's also, I think you see people before they hand a stolen good to the Foot, it's non-Foot members stealing stuff.
Okay.
So there's that passing of the wallet early on.
Oh,
that
yeah.
handed off to a Foot soldier. So I think it's levels of it. If you were just walking around dressed as a Foot soldier, people would be like, who's that ninja over there? Like in the grocery store.
And nowadays it'd be fine because we're all about being, whoever you are, right?
I identify as a ninja.
If you identify as a member of the Foot Clan and that's what you want to wear all day, go for it.
I support
Good for you.
I support that.
You know what I was really disappointed in when I saw the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, and I remember this, that
there's nothing to be disappointed in.
That they weren't robots. I was expecting the Foot to be all androids and to blow up.
Sure.
Because that's what the video games, it's what the cartoon, it's what everything had taught me is that the Foot are made of are robots.
Yeah, we'll never get a movie like that ever again, will we? Where they're like, listen, let's make this for kids. Let's have them say damn in it. Let's have a low budget.
I know.
Let's have them fight actual people with real weapons, right? Like let's have Splinter be traumatically kidnapped.
Yes.
Right? And beaten. Hell yeah. I still get teary-eyed over them meditating around the fire.
Seeing him
come up. What a good fucking movie. I want to watch it. That's my favorite all-time movie.
Yeah.
That's my all-time favorite movie.
It's a good movie.
Oh.
It's a good movie.
That's my Star Wars. Like,
now,
Greg Carlson's like, I remember when I first saw Star Wars and I fell in love with movies. It's Turtles for me.
I think that I do have one note, and it's that I think you could have done another take of Leo yelling for food for Raph.
No! He wants some food.
Get him some food.
He's so excited.
The director should have been like, hey, just one more. Just, like go and be like, hey, everyone, Raph's awake. Bring up some food. It doesn't have to be because Raph is giving such a good performance. Like, hey, Leo.
No, he was so distraught that he thought he would never get to say I'm sorry to his brother.
Yeah, but he yells for food instead.
Yeah, because he wants him to eat. Because Raph says, "What's the guy got to do to get some food around here?"
It's such a generic thing just to say food, like, and like I know Raph is saying.
Here's JJ's movie. If JJ had directed Ninja Turtles, what's a guy got to do to get some food around here? Hey guys, Raph's awake. So could someone maybe like make a sandwich or something? Thanks. I'll just hang up here and make sure he's okay. He won't drown in the tub.
My note. Well, first of all, there's no water in the tub.
Yeah, and that's because he's making sure that he's not going to drown in it.
Oh,
he's sitting there making sure nothing happens.
Yeah.
I'll make sure water doesn't pour in.
So he's sitting there for that. I also think it's kind of creepy that April's like sitting there sketching them all the time. Like, I don't want someone just sketching me when I'm at my emotional lowest. You know, these guys have probably never left New York City. And now they're all of a sudden in the country.
Right.
And she's taking time to sketch.
Yeah. Do you think she was like, hey, Leo, you mind if I just sit here and draw you right now? Well, don't move your leg.
And it's the choice of a voiceover at that point is weird because it doesn't exist anywhere else in the movie.
I also remember
I'm like, are we experiencing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie through April O'Neil?
Yeah, for a moment, sure. You only see drawings though of Leo and Donnie. I mean, you can see Raph's laying in the bathtub.
Mm-hmm.
You never see a drawing of Mikey.
She was too attracted to Mikey.
I remember thinking that I bet there are other drawings they made for the movie that they just didn't make it into the cut. I've always wanted to see those drawings.
I'll see what I can do about finding. I go on a lot of websites that do movie memorabilia auction, so stuff that was used in movies. You know, what's funny is up until like maybe 20 years ago, they just threw everything away. Like a movie's done and they throw it away.
Silly.
And so people would dive into dumpsters and pull out stuff, or you know, they would send it back to Stan Winston's Creature Shop, and he'd be like, I don't know, just throw it in the warehouse or whatever. And now people are paying $60,000 for a working like animatronic puppet from Gremlins,
right? Which they're all like they've receded because of the whatever the materials are break down over time. So the Ninja Turtle masks, the robotic masks from that time, you can find them now and they're nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
They're just fucking crazy looking.
So I'm a big fan of the Muppets, you know, so the Jim Henson Company who built them. Brian Henson has been in interviews talking about like they're not supposed to last forever. Right. I know that you want them to, but we, you know, the foam that we use to make it lightweight so that we can have a performer in there, the paint eats it away. Like he goes, we're lucky to get through a shoot without having this thing fully deteriorate. And like, and people are like, yeah, but you should be saving this forever. And he's like, that's just not the way the world works. He goes, if I saved everything just on the off chance that it might be a hit, what about the stuff that's not a hit? And so I've got like the Ghosts of Fafner house puppets hogging up a quarter of a warehouse somewhere.
Yeah. I would love to meet Judith Hoag someday.
Would you?
Yeah.
You know what I would tell her? Why didn't you do the second one? Why not?
She's like, I came back in a cameo in the Michael Bay movies.
Yeah, it wasn't worth it. And instead you decide to do was the polygamy show that was on HBO.
Oh, Big Love.
Big Love. She plays one of the sister wives, like sisters.
The big rumor right now is that in the live action version of The Last Ronin, which is going to get produced, that she would come back as April.
I could see that.
And so that they would basically be tying that movie to the
first three.
The first three.
Disappointing.
I remember sitting at Chuck E. Cheese shortly after the second one had come out, Secret of the Ooze. And we were just at Chuck E. Cheese that day. Like it wasn't a special event for us. That it was just, we're going to Chuck E. Cheese tonight. And I remember sitting in the booth, eating my pizza, and there was a birthday going on in the main area. And the kids were arguing over who was a bigger Ninja Turtle fan. And I'm listening like I'm a bigger fan than all these
like,
jokers.
I'm going to crush you guys.
And I remember one kid saying, yeah, well, we saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle #2, Secret of the Ooze, last week. And then this other kid goes, yeah, well, I saw the third one yesterday. And I remember thinking, he's a liar.
What a liar.
There is no third movie. What is he talking about? That still sticks with me. That kid fucking lying just to try to win an argument at Chuck E. Cheese. What an asshole.
Hey, I'm going to show you something that I think you're going to like be like, what? So they had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle night at the FM Redhawks like last week.
What?
Yeah. And
wait, what?
Yeah, it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle night. And so they had a bunch of turtle stuff.
God damn it.
The costumes that they brought in for this, look at this. I am shocked, Tucker, at the quality of the costumes that they brought in. I know. Can you believe it?
God damn it.
They are like, these are like not Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1 or 2, but these could be the costumes from 3 or that direct to VHS one that they had.
I'm legitimately upset right now that I missed this.
Like, look at that Raph. Isn't that awesome?
You're telling me I could have gotten cinnamon fried donuts and a brat and a Pepsi and met the Ninja Turtles all in one fucking night?
And you could have hung out with my friend Carcate.
God damn it. Hi, Carcate.
Ugh.
I guess she got to meet the Ninja Turtles.
She did. Does that make you sad?
Yeah.
When I went to Disney World in 4th grade, Disney somehow got the rights to have the Turtles in the park. And so there was like a Turtles parade.
Okay.
And you could go and meet the Turtles. And I met Michelangelo and Donatello. And at Disney World, the big thing was you could buy these little autograph books. And so, like, you know, Mary Poppins would sign your autograph book. And so I had Mikey sign it. And like the guy who's in Mikey, like, you obviously can't talk. And so he gives me a thumbs up and he like puts his hand open and someone gives him something and he comes over and it's a stamp that says like Michelangelo. And then there's like a piece of pizza, but it's done in ink. And so he stamps it and then he gives me another thumbs up. And I remember being like, that's not the real Michelangelo. Party dude would never do that.
Yeah, that's one of his special helpers, right? That just goes to meet kids all over the country because he's too busy.
He's too busy.
He's too busy.
So you've been around mascotted characters your whole life, right? Like,
yeah,
because your dad was part of the Redhawks and they had one, and so you probably saw him at that, right?
Yeah.
You've been going to Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, I've been a big fan of Gomp's displays. You know,
kids today don't like mascots; they get freaked out.
Really?
Yeah.
I saw evidence counter to that yesterday at the Red River Valley Fair
with Big Roy.
Big Roy, because Big Roy was doing a dance for some kids and they were liking it.
Big Roy. Here's the thing: let me tell you what I don't like about modern mascots.
Is Big Roy the Laura Linney of mascots?
He is, and I'll tell you why. He's inflatable.
Yeah.
It's not a suit like the other ones. Like Big Roy is very limited in what he can do. By the way, Big Roy is a giant rooster. I was going to say a giant, and then the other word that people use for rooster, as well as genitalia. But I was like, that would seem just off-putting. So he's a giant rooster, and I understand the reason. Now, versus that, I was at a business called Vampire Penguin. Have you ever heard of a Vampire Penguin?
Wait, you were at a business called Vampire Penguin in Fargo?
In Fargo. It's right over by Happy Harry's on 45th Street.
What is it?
So what they do is, it's a dessert place, and they call it Snow, and it's flavored water that they finely shave and then serve to you, but it tastes just like ice cream.
Okay,
but there's
it sounds like a snow cone.
It sounds like, but it's not.
Okay,
though. Like when you eat it, it looks like it's the consistency of angel food cake, and then when you taste it, it's not like
I'm interested.
It's not like orange flavoring over ice. It doesn't taste like ice or water, and you don't like crunch it. It melts in your mouth, but it's lactose free.
Okay,
and so the premise, my understanding, they're like, it's a penguin because of snow, and I'm like, yep. And what about a vampire? Like,
where does vampire come into this?
And so I guess you can buy storybooks of how it started, and this little penguin gets bitten by a vampire and has to leave his family because he's like, I'm different. But anyway, they have a mascot that is, it's a penguin that has a vampire cape and vampire teeth, but it's the head on a body and all that kind of stuff. People don't realize, have you ever been in one? Have you ever been in a mascot costume?
Yeah. Oh, I was the Easter Bunny.
Oh, yes, you were. Okay. They're not comfortable.
No.
And they're super hot.
Yeah.
We have one
That's
here.
probably why Big Roy is in an inflatable one, because at the fair, he's going to overheat like crazy.
See, now, if they would have just invested in a cooling system in it, the frog that we have at work has a really advanced cooling system from Finland that has been broken the entire time I've worked here, and there's no way to fix it because it's Finnish. So I've never been. Here's the nice thing.
I love the corners your company cuts.
Right? You want to know one of the great things?
It's real cheap if we get it from Finland.
Want to know one of the great things about being 6'3" and over 200 pounds?
Please tell me, because I'll never know both of those things.
Yeah. Nobody ever asks you to get into a mascot costume. They're built for you. They
Not
are
true.
Not built for me.
I asked you to be in a gorilla costume for Mercedes Ray.
But do you remember what happened with that? I had to buy a black turtleneck because the head and the body wouldn't go together.
Yeah.
So we had to do that.
And you overheated.
And, that was a thing. Like, I still can't eat marshmallow fluff because it reminds me of that day.
You went way too far with you added the marshmallow fluff.
But do you remember it was for when I was playing?
I remember. No, I remember.
Yeah.
I was there. I just remember you like bringing it out and be like, okay, he's eating that. And then you put like 3 fingers into it and just.
And I'd be like, how many takes are we doing of this? My favorite is, so I was.
Also, you and Scott Haugen wrestled a little too hard.
Yeah, we did. I remember Scott Horvick. I was sitting on the back patio and in the direct sun, and Scott Horvick goes, "Are you okay? You okay?" My favorite part of playing President Taft was there's a scene that you shot in the living room. So I've got what they used to call it a shotgun window, but essentially where you can see from my living room into the dining room into the kitchen.
Oh.
So it's an open concept.
That's called a shotgun window?
Yeah, so when you could see from the front yard to the backyard, like between like 2 windows,
Okay.
so like they called it a shotgun window. So essentially, like you could fire a shotgun and it wouldn't end up in your house; it'd go all the way through.
Got it.
And so maybe they call that a shotgun dining living kitchen.
Sure.
But so I remember there was a shot where I'm sitting on the counter as Taft, and Taft has discovered 21st century snacks, and you're shooting a scene in the living room, which is easily 30 feet from where I am in the way background.
Yeah.
And it's between President Jefferson and President Lincoln talking about, like this party they're going to throw. And they both turn and look at me, and I've got a breadstick, and I've got one finger pushing the breadstick, going like tick, 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 all the way to my mouth. And I remember thinking, that was a good choice. That was a good little comedic choice on that one. And I don't think we've had breadsticks in that house since.
Ever since then, huh? You've never. Yeah, I bet you've had breadsticks. Come on.
I've had breadsticks, but I don't think we've had them in the house.
Not like the little crunchy ones.
That was something my mom really liked, because she liked when my mom would set a table. So again, I don't want to get too much into Below Deck because there's a whole episode if you need to listen to that right before this. But my mom used to like to put tablescapes together. So when you were serving dinner, even if she didn't intend for you to eat the breadsticks, she would like to take those and she would put them like in a nice glass or like a vase that you put flowers in, so that the food actually like decorates the table itself. It was a good way to, and like during the summertime, she'd incorporate like flowers and stuff onto the table, and not just in a vase, but like flower heads everywhere.
This is making me think of like Lisa's Pilgrim diorama from Simpsons that gets thrown into the fire by Bart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, Bart's so mean. Bart is so mean. He just doesn't like his sister. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us continue to produce new episodes each week, visit jjmeetsworld.com, where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some swag at the merch shop, or follow our link to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the sites the cool kids are using these days. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by visiting moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, check out linebenders.com, where you can find direct contact info for JJ or booking information. I think the thing I like the most about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is I can just relate to their issues.